When he was younger, Jon didn't want to be a comedian. Congratulations. Here's a fun fact for you. Jon Richardson backwards was a medical diagnosis made when he was 8. Jon turned 30 last year. He celebrated the big day with all his friends alone in his kitchen. It must be difficult for Jon's girlfriend to date someone with OCD. Every time she gets turned on, Jon turns her off again. Jon has bought a house in the Lake District. Dreary, miserable and wet is how his new neighbours describe him. When it comes to Countdown, Jon's a real winner, though I doubt that makes up for the rest of his life. Jon is really good with numbers, as opposed to women, conversation and emotions. In 2003, Jon was living as a lonely, friendless, unloved single man in Swindon. But all that's changed now. Jon now lives in London. This is interesting. At school, Jon was captain of the book team, which is another way of saying King of the Virgins.
I was captain of the book team at primary school, and I think you'll find everyone was a virgin at mine.
Jon phones his mum every single day. Keep on trying, Jon. One of these days she's bound to pick up. Jon is a laugh a minute, which isn't great for this show, as he only gets 30 seconds. Joe and Josh are friends in real life. Normally, when you have two good friends, there's a funny one and a good-looking one. What's happened here? Jon keeps all his clocks fast, so he's never late, and it works. Of course, the other reason Jon is never late is because Jon is never invited. I'm not saying Jon's boring, but after talking to him, you are warned not to drive or operate heavy machinery.
There was a little minute then where we made eye contact and you smiled, and there was just a shred of humanity coming in there, wasn't there?
So sorry, I'm feeling very sleepy now. Jon actually reminds me of Tom Cruise, mainly because he reminds me of Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man, which reminds me of Tom Cruise. Jon says his comedy is influenced by Lee Evans, although, unfortunately, Jon wasn't influenced by the part where Lee Evans packed in stand-up and hasn't been seen for a decade. Jon is an obsessive organiser, so I assume he's tidied his personality away and now he can't find it. Jon gets anxious about stuff. He's what my old nan would call a worrywart, a fusspot, a flibbity-gibbet, a nutjob, a weirdo twat. Jon is dedicated to his girlfriend. She's a lovely, bubbly girl whose parents describe her as missing. In Jon's circle of friends, he's known as the cool one because out of all of them, he wears the thinnest cardigan. Jon has a habit of meticulously organising the coins in his trouser pocket according to size, is what he told the arresting officer. Jon has a new girlfriend. She's everything he could have ever imagined. She's imaginary. Jon once performed a gig at a hospital, I presume because they'd run out of anaesthetic. In 2011, Jon released a book about his quest for love. Before it, he hadn't had a girlfriend in 8 years. And after, he's not had a girlfriend for 2 years. So, some improvement there.
The joke's on you, Jimmy, because I have got a girlfriend.
Well, she must be made up.
She's blown up, to be honest.
In November 2012, Jon released his first stand-up DVD, Funny Magnet. Of course, times have changed. People don't really buy DVDs anymore. A trend started by Jon in November 2012, when he released his first DVD, Funny Magnet. Jon Richardson is one of life's winners. Sorry, whiners. Jon describes himself as a double-door checker, as he's paranoid his front door isn't locked. Don't worry, Jon. Pretty sure it's locked. You definitely locked it, right?
Don't start, because I wasn't the last one out today.
Did you lock the door, though, when you...
Well, no, I didn't, because she's still in and she's told me to stop locking the door when she's in.
Have you genuinely locked people in the house?
If she's asleep, I'll double lock the door.
Anyway, if Jon switched off the stair lift, there's no way she can come down anyway.
Say what you want about Jon's tours, but they really put the word fun into the word refund. Jon is an old man in a young man's body. His personality is actually eligible for the winter fuel allowance. Jon's very much the thinking woman's comedian. If the woman in question is thinking, maybe if I go and hide in the loo for half an hour, he'll just leave. With his award-winning stand-up, high-profile TV career and best-selling DVDs, it's surprising just how boring Jon genuinely is. Jon is a vegan, but what exactly does that mean? Well, it means he's boring to talk to.
That's not veganism's fault. Just in veganism's defence.
I'm 90% vegan.
90%? What's the one thing that keeps you from being vegan?
Oh, absolutely foie gras. Oh, God, with a nice milky coffee and some cheese.
Why wouldn't you want to eat cheese?
Oh, the udders and the cows and the pus and the huge swollen...
No, just have the cheese bit.
John's got himself a girlfriend at long last. Congratulations to everyone involved. For the online dating industry, getting John a girlfriend was the equivalent of finding the Higgs boson. I'm not saying John's a geek, but this is the first time ever David Mitchell can be called the cool one. Jon Richardson is a real man of the people, and those people are the ones that wear cardigans and don't have any friends. John recently got married. Well, it was either that or pay the postage to send her back.
Now, tell me, is that a joke about an inflatable girlfriend or a foreign bride?
Oh, we're sort of multi-layered.
OK, good.
We're just suggesting that it is not a real love.
I'll enjoy it twice, then.
John had been single for so long that at his wedding, for the something blue, he just used his balls. I'm not saying John is a freak, but when his parents walked into his teenage bedroom and caught him with the Hoover on maximum suck mode, it was actually because he was doing the hoovering.
My parents divorced when I was young, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it was your fault. Live, Jon Richardson always gives his audience exactly what they want. Their money back. John, I know some people say you're a nerdy, geeky, annoying, boring man with no friends and everyone thinks you're a loser, but remember, that's all I got written down. John was born in Lancaster, which is about 3 miles east of Morecambe, 20 miles north of Preston, and 50 years behind London. In the Urban Dictionary, John means gift from God, although in his case, let's hope God's kept the receipt. Stand-up comedian, writer, radio host, is there anything John can't do? Yes, he can't leave the house without checking the gases off 15 times. John has just had a baby daughter. Congratulations to John's wife. It took 12 long hours of pain, tears and drugs, but eventually, John managed to get her pregnant. John once performed in a hospital. They wanted to see if laughter really is the best medicine, and they needed a placebo for the control group. Jon Richardson, he's the answer to the question, what would it be like if a grown man had a child's face? And a woman's voice?
I've got a bit.
Oh.
John's actually missed the last few shows. I know, I didn't notice either. John should try his hand on the X Factor. He can't sing or dance, but if you're looking for tragic backstory, he's world-class. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. It's when someone worries they're missing out on something interesting happening elsewhere. It's mainly experienced by people talking to Jon Richardson. I know he might sometimes come across as a boring, slightly lame geek with no friends in his pathetic life, but... Oh, hang on, that's all I've got on the card.
I noticed you already did one at the little beginning when you're showing off in front of everyone. So I thought these ones would be jettisoned, but I'm getting done twice now, am I, per show?
That's what they said at the sauna. We've got a bit of a reputation on this show for only saying mean things about John. So, Sean, I'm not saying he's angry, but he's ready to blow at any point, just like Jon Richardson's mum.
She is 100% watching this.
I met John's mum in a queue, and she didn't seem that sort of person to me.
What was the queue for?
For John's mum. Jon Richardson, he's duller than the pain I feel in my left testicle. John oozes coolness and charm. Well, it must have leaked out somewhere, because there's certainly none left. Jon Richardson, he puts the great into the phrase whiny, grating voice. Jon Richardson, all the thrills, spills and high-octane excitement of a slow puncture on a child's tricycle. John recently became vegan. Well, to be fair, he was already feeble and boring to talk to, so why not? I'm not saying John is boring, but he's like if a Ryvita got its wish to be a real boy. John stars in a mockumentary about his life, but you can tell it's not real because John comes across as funny and likeable.
You obviously haven't seen it.
No one's seen it. Jon Richardson, he's like a vaccine, but for fun.
Do you want to get injected?
Do you know what I love about Jon Richardson? Because I don't. Hanging out with Jon Richardson is the social equivalent of stepping on a plug. When out for dinner, Jon likes to arrange items like sauce bottles and pepper pots in symmetrical lines on the table. You might think that'd be annoying for the person Jon's with, but you'll be relieved to hear he's alone. Jon's got a 3-year-old daughter, tiny, needy and whiny. I don't know what his daughter's like. Jon Richardson, he's the answer to the question, what would it look like if a pair of beige socks came to life and started talking about steam trains? Jon says his favourite smell is the inside of an empty Tic Tac box, and luckily for him, he can just about fit inside. Believe it or not, there's another Jon Richardson who's the treasurer for the Train Spotting Association of Cardiff. And frustratingly, we've ended up booking the boring one. What is it about Jon Richardson that makes him irresistible to women? Nothing. He's not. I like the sitcom Meet the Richardsons. The only downside of the show is one of the Richardsons you have to meet is Jon. Jon is from Lancaster, cold, boring and wet. Jon is a valued member of the Countdown team. I'm not saying Jon Richardson is short, but even when he's standing up, his feet don't touch the ground. How to describe Jon Richardson? He's the kind of guy who irons his receipts, takes his own cereal on holiday and washes out his condoms.